It is afternoon. After so many speakers, I believe you have been full of information. In my presentation, I would like to give you different points of view and talk about competencies and leadership from HR perspective. Not from the point of view of internal audit and risk management. In my presentation, I would like to set some things clear because it's almost the end of the day and it's the right moment to do that. And that's why I would like to have your help. The first question will be addressed to those who are here in this room because you have this opportunity to move around. You will be able to, those who think that the importance of audit will grow in the nearest 3-5 years. Those who consider that the role of audit will diminish, those kind of kneel down, and those who believe it will stay the same, those can remain seated. Has anyone kneeled? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So there are, as we understand from different presentations, there are different situations in different organizations. The majority said that the importance of audit will increase. And about the next question, I would urge everyone, including people present, to respond to this question, how you evaluate the influence of audit in your respective organizations. And I give you the answers. Average, insufficient, or sufficient or big enough. Insufficient, average, or big. Could you please vote on Slido? At the moment, I see that dominating trend is average, could be better. But also we see that we have some positive examples saying that it is has big influence and others could learn from us. 14% are saying big. Maybe responding to the next question, what are the factors that have helped to strengthen this impact, this influence? And in parallel to my story, do answer to the second question. So please name 3 factors, desirably in one word. What are the factors that you consider to be important for an organization or external environment, as well as in ourselves and professionals that are helping to strengthen internal audit's impact on the company? Because leadership, it's a story about impact. That's why I'm going to continue on how we can strengthen our influence in order to eliminate situation when an auditor or internal audit team is sitting remotely in solitude, waiting while they are being addressed. More probably, auditors are not welcomed at all. So in this situation, when internal auditors are sitting by the management table together, solving development issues, is very crucial. In parallel to my request, I would like also to share my experience, to share my vision, what is important to strengthen the influence or the impact of internal audit. For you, impartiality is very important. I hope I will not influence you and you will come up with independent answers to my question. But my story would be grouped in the following way. Influence, it's a story about authority and it's a story about trust. Let us talk about these two keywords, authority and trust. Speaking about authority, there are different sources how authority can be formed. Three most prominent ones. The first one, um, uh, power of one's post, connected with one's status in a structure. The higher you are on the ladder of the enterprise, the bigger authority you are. But from my experience and also from my observations, I do see that the post alone doesn't mean anything. And the power that we use on others from those power positions sometimes achieve the opposite. People either are doing it because they have to, or they try to avoid doing it. And let us not forget that attitude towards authority changes with generation. And for new generation, the role of authority is diminishing. Personalities or charismas or authority. Mm, although charisma is sometimes connected with positive or negative myth, but it works. It works. Charisma can have many different forms of prominating itself, including honesty, including experience and other very humane characteristics. But this second form of authority, but besides that, I wanted to add the third form of authority, uh, uh, authority of competence. And this is why we are here today. And why, in my story, I would like to talk about the topic of professional competencies and professional competence model of internal auditors. Shortly, I would like to characterize how this internal auditors professional competence model for public authorities were created and how to use this model to strengthen one's own capacity. The basic information about competence model and its drafting, it was done by us and me and my colleagues in company Oda at the beginning of this year. As you can see from the right-hand side, within this framework of this project, we were asked to do that by School of State Administration. We elaborated not only the competence model, but also guidelines and evaluation form, as well as training content structure, but more about competence model and how to use it. The drafting of this model was completed in several stages, and I wanted to point out that it was not created from scratch. We took into account international practice as well as international framework that has been elaborated by Institute of Internal Auditors. We talk to internal auditors as well as managers of uh, company institutions, what they expect from auditors. And then this model was piloted in two stages. On first stage, we analyzed whether this model is complete, whether those traces that are enclosed in this model are really important for auditors. Maybe something is redundant, maybe something is missing. And during repeated piloting stage, we focused on evaluation of those competencies and whether the process of evaluation is clear, acceptable, understandable. Why? Because in 2022, um, public administration guidelines were created for creation of competency model, foreseeing that these models should be simple, understandable, easy to use. And that public administration is moving from manual of overall general competencies to the future professional competencies guidelines and overall competency guidelines. And I would like to say thank you to the representatives of the working group. You can see there were representatives from different ministries as well as from Internal Auditors Institute. They did not allow us to deviate from the professional course, and they kept the wheel of everyone on the.
Tātad kopumā ir definētas
So
8.
how does this model look like? We have 8+1 competences. So this one competence applies to the managers of internal audit units, while the remaining 8 competences apply to all internal auditors. So what you can see here, and by their names, you can judge about the content. So this model has both very extensive professional knowledge competences like performing an audit. That includes knowledge of the methodology, as well as very, very many items, knowledge items that apply to understanding the operational environment and external environment. And on the second line, you also see soft competences like analytical thinking, like communication with the stakeholders. So you may ask how can this model be compared with the international model? Here you can see my improvised answer to this question. As you see, international model includes 4 competence groups with 23 sub-competences, but our 8+1 competences, we have managed to cover the most important requirements and competences from the international model, but we have grouped them according to the local specifics. To illustrate one example, a short excerpt from the description of a competence, since all competences are defined, and a short and simple, easy to understand description is prepared for each of them, with yes/no questions. And before we move forward, I would like to show the results, namely what you find important, what you think are important impact factors. Your answers. What are your answers? Of course, I find it, I really like that the communication is in the very center. This really allows me to ascertain that what I'm talking about, namely these professional competencies, are very important because we see competences as a wide point of view, active communication, cooperation with the management. And this is what we see reflected in the competence models and also the support of the management. Further, I would like to focus on the support of the management, to expand my point of view and maybe to provide some notes or comments on how to gain this trust, gain this support. So, if we look at this equation, influence, authority, and trust, the last word being trust, there is a question how to gain the trust of the management. And I invite you to look at this from the point of view of this trust triangle. Put the hat of the other side on and try to feel like they feel. Instead of just being trustworthy, think about how I am perceived, whether I'm really trusted. And each peak here has have specific characteristics. Authenticity means that others perceive me as being genuine. Logics, also from the professional point of view, means that others trust in what I say because they see logic in what I say and they think that my professional conclusions are well grounded. And the third peak is empathy. Whether the other party understands that what they find important is also important for you as an internal auditor. Namely, what is important for me as a manager is also important to you as an internal auditor. And at the end, I would like to say a few words by saying, by commenting that this internal audit competences, resource management can actually strengthen all three of these aspects of trust of this triangle. As you see, remuneration is not included in this model, and this has been done with a purpose. Because when we assess competences, when we analyze them, when we develop them concurrently, we also ask us how much I will be paid for that, more or less. At that time, the desire to honestly analyze your competences actually disappears. That's why this model mostly focuses on development-related processes. First, authenticity. Authenticity actually is a question of if at the moment when the model has been prepared, if we, all of us, can actually use an opportunity to think once more, if I'm in the right place, whether the requirements, future challenges that are included in this model, if this is something that I want to deal with. And if you say yes, then we are authentic and it's easier for us to gain the trust of others. And it's also a matter of recruitment, because when we assess these important competences during the selection process, during the recruitment process, we very honestly tell them what is really important in this profession. Logic. It is related to continuous self-analysis, self-assessment of competences, so that our professional judgment would be well-grounded, so that people would trust us. So you have to understand your strengths and weaknesses from the point of view of competences. And of course, you need to develop competences. And third, empathy. It is related to being interested in what the others do. And this is something that is really more applicable to heads of internal audit, like development of employees, competences, career development. So on the basis of competences, we can contribute to these processes. And this also allows us to join together all of these three peaks. Here we can also speak about being a leader. And the good news are that if we look into the future, that these two experts believe that, and I will rephrase their words, in the future, professional excellence will be of decisive importance. And it's just not, and it is not just charisma, it's something that you can develop. And that's why we have this conference. And I wish you all the luck in the future. Thank you.